Many of you may not know, but Jak and Daxter 4, the fourth main installment into the Jak and Daxter series, was actually going to be a reality at some point. It was shaping up to be a real game where concepts were drawn, it was in active development, however something went wrong that led to its inevitable cancellation. So what was that thing, and what did the story look like around Jak 4? Let's get into it. So running under the tentative names of Jak 4 and Jak and Daxter 4, it was quite clear that this game would take the franchise on a wholly new direction. Both Jak and Daxter had several drastic redesigns and it hinted to the game being a huge departure from the rest of the series. However, this is where the cracks started to show. The development team at Naughty Dog struggled with just how far each of their decisions departed from the mainline series. There was such a constant struggle between reinventing and reinvigorating, and also to maintain the core elements that made the Jak and Daxter series so special for fans. The development team were asking the questions of what would a realistic, non-cartoony version of both Jak and Daxter look like, however eventually came to the conclusion that it just doesn't work out. Now many fans speculated that Jak 4 would actually take place after Jak 3, makes sense, and explore the story of how Jak becomes Ma. And this is quite an easy assumption to make, but you would be wrong in this. If the drastic changes to the aesthetics of the characters and the world weren't enough of a hint for you, Neil Druckmann himself also confirmed in a Toronto keynote meeting that Jak 4 would have acted as an entire reboot to the series. While showing some concept art created for the early development of the game, Neil expanded on the idea of rebooting the franchise and the difficulties that came with that.
So we spent a long time kind of exploring the world of Jak and Daxter, and how would we reboot it? What would it mean to bring these characters back? What are some story ideas that we were getting excited by? A lot of these concepts and kind of exploring this fantastical world, we found that the ideas we were passionate about were kind of getting away from what Jak and Daxter was, and we're questioning is like, are we doing this for marketing reason and naming something Jak and Daxter when it's not really Jak and Daxter? Or are we really passionate about it? And the answer was like, we felt it was more for marketing. And we just, again, we felt like we weren't doing service to what the fans of this franchise really liked, even if the reinvented Daxter is pretty damn good looking.
So the development of the game was straying too far away from where the series was last seen, and this sentiment dated as far back as 2010, where an interview with Naughty Dog confirmed that despite many attempts of trying to get this reboot right, it just wasn't a feasible venture. The team realized that straying too far away from what has already been established meant that they would be diverging from what made Jak and Daxter so special as a series. The team noted that there were already so many established relationships, personalities, and motivations in place. And you might just ask yourself, why not just continue expanding everything that's already in place? But there is your answer. Everything has already been established. There's not much room creatively to expand the current universe. Upon doing research, it really felt like the team could not flex their creative muscles or abilities since so many of these key characters are already known and at this point in the story are already fleshed out. What more could be explored unless you go to a completely and entirely different location or even a time period? And then, would those new characters then resonate with the fans? Would the team be doing the game justice in not only telling a story that builds upon the past games in a purposeful way, but would they also be doing the fans justice? It was too much of a gamble, and eventually it just didn't really seem like Naughty Dog could build a game that would be satisfying for their fan base. Now, during the development of Jak 4, there was a constant struggle between, do we create something new, which then departs too far away from what made Jak and Daxter, or do we stick with the old and try to expand on the already existing universe but might not have a good story to tell? There was that constant struggle, and Neil Druckmann himself went to his boss and just simply asked,
do we have to do this? And he said no. I thought it would just be easier for you guys if you started with something, but if you want to do something else, come up with something else.
It got to a point where the struggle was just too much. They weren't going to make a game that was satisfying for customers or fans of the franchise, and what they were going to make if they did a brand new reboot probably wouldn't have captured the same magic as the original series did, so they canned it. Now let's do a quick timeline summary here for Naughty Dog. Let's start with Jak 3, which was the last main entry into the series released in 2004. Yes, I know there are a couple of others, but this is the main entry. Naughty Dog would then go on to work on Uncharted Drake's Fortune, which released in 2007, and then Uncharted 2 releasing in 2009. Now at this point, Naughty Dog took a good 5 to 6 years away from the Jak and Daxter franchise, and when they went back and looked at the project again in 2010, it was through the lens of trying to reboot it, as we discussed before. Now this makes sense. A lot of people wanted a continuation from Jak 3, however, just think about it for a couple of minutes. When looking back at Jak 4 in 2010, Jak 3 is already 6 years old. That means that if they were to develop another game, be Jak 4, and have it be a continuation from Jak 3, there's already 5 to 6 years from when Jak 3 released. Then you have maybe a 2 to 4 year window for the game's development. That means that when Jak 4 expected to come out, it was going to be almost 10 years that have passed from the time of Jak 3's release and Jak 4's release. That is a lot of time in between each game, and to expect a continuation, a cohesive continuation of the story, and expecting fans to keep up, it's a big ask. So it made complete sense why they were trying to reboot the franchise, just because if they had a story ready to go, they would have been working on it immediately after Jak 3. So once they canned Jak 4, they quickly moved on to a new project under the codename Thing, which would eventually come out to be what we now know as The Last of Us. So what does the future of Jak and Daxter look like? What are the prospects that this series in any capacity will be picked up and be brought back to life? Sadly, it looks fairly slim. The last game we saw from the Jak series was Last Frontier in 2009. He made an appearance alongside Sly and Ratchet in 2011's PlayStation Move Heroes. There was a Jak and Daxter collection released in 2012, and then the duo have just simply been relegated to basic cameos from there on out. Naughty Dog has confirmed that they are currently working on 2 new games. One is a multiplayer project tied to The Last of Us, and the other project is unknown to the public. If I was a betting man, I would presume that that second game, that's still a mystery, is a new IP rather than another attempt at the Jak and Daxter franchise, but hey, I'd be happy to be proven wrong. Now, it is quite sad to see such a beloved pair of characters left behind in history, and I do hope that one day either Naughty Dog or another studio picks up the franchise and does something with it. Whether they want to do a reboot, a retelling, or a continuation of where the series was left, I don't really mind. It really is just a tragedy that a franchise with such a passionate fan base is being left in the dark, especially with how far technology and consoles have come. We could really have something special on our hands if someone just gave the series the attention and care that it deserves. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If there is to be another installment for the Jak series, would you want it to be a continuation of the existing story taking place after Jak 3, or would you want it to be an entire reboot, an entire new story, possibly with even some new characters? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I want to thank the people on the screen right now for being a Ko-fi supporter and going above and beyond for showing their support. And as always, if you want to become a Ko-fi supporter, link to that is in the description below. But if you like the video, please go ahead and leave it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Bye.